In 1977, 20th Century Fox was sitting on two major science fiction films. Their strategy was simple: dump the weak project in the spring and save the real blockbuster for the end of the year. And that's exactly what they did. In May, they released a strange little space opera they expected to be a niche curiosity. It was called Star Wars. But when this expected failure became a global phenomenon, Fox went into a total panic. Desperate to ride the coattails of their accidental hit, executives seized control of their real bet, a gritty epic called Damnation Alley, and brutally butchered it in the editing room, slashing 44 minutes of footage. Welcome back to Golden Flicker. If you've ever watched a classic film and felt like a massive piece was missing, you aren't alone. Today we explore the $17 million road trip that was supposed to be the next big thing, only to become a fascinating casualty of studio interference. Imagine a film featuring giant scorpions, killer cockroaches, and a production where the true star isn't an actor, but a machine. Despite being a box office failure, this project planted the seeds for many of the famous dystopias that followed. Do you remember when you first saw the wasteland of Damnation Alley? Let me know in the comments. Before the world knew the name Skywalker, the executives at Fox were looking for a different kind of science fiction. They wanted something grounded, prestige-heavy, and based on serious literature. They found it in Roger Zelazny's 1969 novel, Damnation Alley. The book was a hard-boiled piece of post-apocalyptic fiction following a criminal anti-hero named Hell Tanner. However, the transition from page to screen stripped away the story's very engine. In the novel, Tanner is a convicted criminal forced into a suicide mission in exchange for a full pardon. His task is a desperate, high-stakes race, delivering a life-saving vaccine for a deadly plague from Los Angeles all the way to Boston. The clock is ticking, and millions of lives are at stake. In the film, this urgency is completely evaporated. Instead of a desperate criminal, Tanner is a willing military officer. Instead of a life-or-death rescue mission, the characters simply head toward Albany because they happen to pick up a faint radio signal. By removing the plague and the forced redemption of a criminal, the studio turned a gritty survival thriller into a leisurely, low-stakes road trip, a decision that many fans believe doomed the narrative from the start. And the road to production was anything but smooth. Early development involved courting some of the biggest names in the industry. Director Robert Wise, famous for The Sound of Music, was approached but declined, reportedly finding the script impossible to film. Even special effects legends like Douglas Trumbull, the visual mastermind behind 2001: A Space Odyssey, and the director of Silent Running, was also consulted, but he ultimately agreed that the project was technically inviable with mid-70s technology. The studio eventually turned to director Jack Smite and hired writer Alan Sharp to do a radical rewrite. This new version stripped away the gritty, biker gang elements of the book, replacing the hardened criminal protagonist with a more traditional military hero played by Jan Michael Vincent. It was a pivot towards safety that, ironically, made the production even more complex to manage. But if the story was being watered down, the hardware certainly wasn't. The real star of the film wasn't a human actor, but a machine, the Landmaster. Designed and built by the legendary Dean Jeffries, the man responsible for the Monkey Mobile and James Dean's Little Bastard Porsche, the Landmaster was a feat of engineering. It cost approximately $350,000 to build in 1976, which is over $2 million in today's money. Unlike many movie props that are mere shells, the Landmaster was a fully functional 11-ton, 35-foot articulated rig. It featured a patented tri-star wheel system where 12 wheels were arranged in triangular sets, allowing the vehicle to literally crawl over boulders and survive 25-foot jumps without sustaining damage. It could even float on water, using its rotating wheels as paddles for a speed of 8 knots. Although the film features 2 Landmasters, only one full-scale vehicle was ever built. The production used camera tricks and 3 miniatures to create the illusion of a pair, and for specific dangerous scenes, such as the crossing of Flathead Lake. The Fox executives weren't just betting on visual spectacle, they wanted to revolutionize the auditory experience as well. They developed a specialized sound process called Sound 360, a high-impact surround system intended to rival Universal's Sensurround. It was an expensive gamble that required hundreds of theatres to be specially equipped. To fill this sonic landscape, Fox hired the legendary Jerry Goldsmith. He composed a dense, aggressive score that masterfully blended traditional orchestral elements with abrasive, cutting-edge analog synthesizers. Tragically, the Sound 360 technology died with the film's failure. As production continued, an internal power shift was happening at Fox. The studio only had enough faith and budget for 2 sci-fi projects in 1977. Because they were so convinced Damnation Alley was their winner, they reportedly redirected nearly 25% of its budget to help complete Star Wars. When Star Wars hit theaters in May 1977 and changed the world, Fox found themselves in a bizarre predicament. Their side project was a cultural phenomenon, while their expensive, prestigious epic was still languishing in a troubled post-production. Marketing dollars and attention meant to sustain the wasteland adventure were quickly diverted to fuel the unexpected blockbuster. And the production itself was plagued by practical disasters. The crew spent a fortune building 8-foot mechanical scorpions for the motorcycle sequence that introduced Tanner. When they saw the footage, the results were so poor that they were forced to scrap the scenes. The desperate solution was to film real scorpions and composite them into the shots using blue screen, a decision that led to some of the most criticized effects in the final cut. Then there were the killer cockroaches. The crew used thousands of real Madagascar hissing cockroaches for close-up shots. For wider angles, they used rubber fakes on mats, but in the final film, you can clearly see the strings being used to pull the carpets of insects across the floor. The tension wasn't just technical. Lead actor Jan Michael Vincent reportedly vanished for 3 days during filming in Arizona. According to production accounts, he had a run-in with local residents that ended with him being given peyote, causing him to wander off into the desert and halting production until he was found. Wait, do you hear that hissing? Oh no, the killer cockroaches are heading straight for the comments section. Quick! There is only one way to stop the swarm. Show your support for Golden Flicker by smashing that like button and subscribing right now. Hurry, before they eat the algorithm. And while you're safe, tell us, which classic film should we explore next? The film featured an incredible mix of talent that would later dominate 1980s television. George Peppard, the future leader of the A-Team, was famously vocal about his hatred for the studio's final cut. He believed the heart of the movie, the human relationships, had been sacrificed for gadgetry. Joining him was Jan Michael Vincent, who would later become the world's highest-paid TV actor in Airwolf, and a young Jackie Earle Haley, who would eventually find acclaim as Rorschach in Watchmen. The on-set friction was palpable, especially after the Peyote incident, with Peppard reportedly being so furious he refused to speak to Vincent off-camera for the remainder of the shoot. And the biggest blow to Damnation Alley happened in the editing room. Originally scheduled for release in December 1976, the film was pushed back due to a disastrous executive decision. The studio felt the blue Arizona skies didn't look apocalyptic enough, so they ordered radioactive skies to be added to roughly 300 shots. Using laser light shows and chemical swirls, they optically replaced the sky with psychedelic patterns. This laborious process took 10 months, forcing the film to miss its original release window. Instead of beating the competition, Damnation Alley was delayed just long enough to land directly in the shadow of the Star Wars phenomenon. Once George Lucas's film became a hit, the delay turned into a death sentence. Panic-stricken by the new standard for pacing, Fox executives seized control from director Jack Smite. They demanded the film be faster and more action-heavy, resulting in the removal of roughly 44 minutes of footage. They slashed entire character arcs, including a central love triangle between Tanner, Denton, and Janice. The editing was so ruthless that it broke the story's emotional logic. When the character Keegan is horrifyingly devoured by cockroaches, the film simply moves on. The scene where the survivors mourn him was cut, making it seem like he never mattered at all. The most striking casualty was actor Murray Hamilton, famous as the mayor in Jaws. He had filmed significant scenes as a general, but the studio cut every single one of his lines. He appears in the final film as a mute background ghost of the ambitious movie that once existed. Tragically, he received no on-screen credit for his work. And that brings us to the golden flicker moment. By the time the film finally reached theatres in October 1977, the budget had ballooned towards $17 million, but it only returned about $4 to $5 million at the box office. It was a financial disaster for Fox. But 6 years later, a strange thing happened. On June 12, 1983, NBC aired a special television edit of the film. Unlike the theatrical release, this version was a ratings hit, and eagle-eyed viewers noticed something shocking. It was a completely different movie. This TV cut restored significant chunks of the deleted character drama, including the lost dialogue between Denton and Janice regarding his late wife. Most importantly, it finally gave a voice to Murray Hamilton, proving that his character was originally a pivotal figure in the story rather than a mute extra. Tragically, this phantom version was never released on home video. It was never included on VHS, DVD, or Blu-ray as a complete alternate cut. Do you agree that the realization that we lost a potential masterpiece to a studio's fear is the golden flicker moment? The Landmaster itself proved more durable than the film it starred in. For 25 years, it sat parked outside Dean Jeffrey's North Hollywood shop, becoming a local landmark visible from the Hollywood freeway. It became a sub-celebrity in its own right, appearing in music videos for Quiet Riot, commercials for Amoco, and sitcoms like Get a Life. After surviving years of vandalism and neglect, the vehicle was sold and is currently undergoing an extensive restoration to its original 1977 condition. It remains a fully functional reminder of a time when Hollywood took massive physical risks on the future. Despite its failure, Damnation Alley planted the seeds for the future of the post-apocalypse. Its influence is officially confirmed in the Fallout game series and in the comic book origins of Judge Dredd's Cursed Earth. Even the archetype of the anti-hero in a super vehicle can be traced from Roger Zelazny's book to the likes of Snake Plissken and Mad Max. Perhaps the most famous story regarding the film's legacy involves George R.R. Martin. A close friend of Zelazny, Martin reportedly took the author to see The Road Warrior in 1981. After the credits rolled, Martin turned to him and said, "That is how your movie should have been made." If you discovered something new today, illuminate our day by clicking like and subscribe to Golden Flicker so you never miss a story from the annals of cinema history. Which film should we explore next? Let us know in the comments.